At some point after midnight, two people go over the railing of a moving cruise ship. No one sees it happen. No one hears it happen. And the ship never slows down. By the time their absence is noticed the next morning, the vessel is already miles beyond the place where their lives ended, and the search that follows will begin in the wrong location. 8 years later, the Coast Guard will find the only physical evidence that proves they went into the ocean. And it won't be anywhere near where investigators were looking. This is not a story about panic or chaos. It is a story about how two trained medical professionals, people who understand risk, injury, and survival, can vanish from a ship carrying hundreds of witnesses without leaving behind a single confirmed moment of proof. Among the passengers boarding that morning are two people who do not stand out. They are not celebrities. They are not loud. They are not young honeymooners or retirees celebrating an anniversary. They are professionals, educated, accustomed to responsibility, a married couple in their 30s, both physicians, both accustomed to long hours and controlled environments. This trip, by all accounts, is meant to be a pause, a break from hospital corridors and on-call nights, a chance to exist somewhere where decisions are simpler and days are structured around meals, sunsets, and scheduled entertainment. They step aboard like everyone else, presenting their documents, exchanging polite words with the crew. Their names are recorded, their cabin assigned. Their luggage disappears down a corridor, destined for a room that will later become central to an investigation no one on board expects to happen. The ship pulls away from the dock just after sunrise. The engines settle into a steady rhythm. The shoreline recedes until it becomes a thin line, then nothing at all. For the next several hours, nothing happens. Passengers explore the decks. Some head straight for breakfast. Others stand outside, letting the wind carry away the last of the land. The couple moves through these early hours quietly. Witnesses will later remember seeing them together, walking side by side, dressed casually. There is no argument, no visible tension, nothing that would mark this day as different from any other day at sea. The ship moves into open water. By midday, the routine of the cruise begins to take hold. Lunch service opens. Announcements echo softly over the public address system. The sea remains calm, with only a gentle roll. It is the kind of day that encourages people to relax their awareness, to trust the environment completely. This is important because on a ship, trust is part of the design. Passengers are meant to believe that nothing can happen without being noticed, that movement is controlled, that crew members see everything, that safety systems are always in place. And most of the time, this belief is justified. But ships are also vast compartmentalized spaces. They are full of blind spots, corridors that cameras do not reach, decks that are quiet for hours at a time. By late afternoon, the couple is seen again near the pool area. They sit together talking. Other passengers pass by without paying attention. At some point, they return to their cabin. No one records the exact time. There is no official log of when they are last seen together. That night, the ship continues on its planned route. Dinner is served. Entertainment begins. Laughter spills out of the lounges and theaters. Music carries down the hallways. The couple does not attend the evening show. This is not unusual. Many passengers choose to stay in their cabins, especially on the first night, when travel fatigue sets in. Their cabin is located along one of the mid-level decks, facing the ocean. It has a small private balcony enclosed by a railing just high enough to give a sense of safety without obstructing the view. Doors leading to these balconies are designed to be secure, but they are not sealed. They can be opened from the inside without difficulty. Later, a steward passes by the cabin. He notes that the "Do Not Disturb" sign is not displayed. He does not knock. Hours pass. Sometime after midnight, the ship is fully underway, far from shore. The sea remains calm. There are no storms, no sudden changes in weather. The night is dark, but visibility is adequate under the ship's lights. And somewhere during this stretch of time, the couple disappears. There is no alarm, no splash reported, no cry for help. No one sees two figures go over the side of the ship. No one notices anything out of place. The ship continues moving forward, carrying hundreds of passengers and crew members who have no idea that two people are no longer where they are supposed to be. Morning arrives. Breakfast service begins as scheduled. Passengers begin to move through the corridors again, heading toward dining areas and observation decks. Crew members begin their daily routines, including housekeeping rounds. When the steward assigned to the couples section reaches their cabin, he knocks. There is no answer. He knocks again. Still nothing. This by itself is not unusual. Many passengers sleep late. He opens the door using his access key. Inside, the cabin appears undisturbed. The bed has been slept in. Clothing is laid out neatly. Personal items are present. Wallets, identification, jewelry. Nothing appears packed or missing. There is no sign of a struggle, no overturned furniture, no blood, no note. The balcony door is closed. The steward steps back into the corridor and continues his rounds. Several hours later, the couple fails to appear for a scheduled shore excursion briefing. Their names are called quietly, then crossed off the list. Still, no one panics. Passengers miss activities all the time. It is not until late morning, when their absence becomes consistent across multiple points of contact, that concern begins to form. A call is placed to their cabin. There is no answer. Security is notified. When ship security enters the cabin, they conduct a more deliberate inspection. They note the same details the steward did earlier. Everything appears normal, too normal. Luggage is still present. Medications are still there. Passports remain in the safe. The balcony is inspected carefully. The railing shows no signs of damage, no scuff marks, no bent metal. The ocean below is endless and calm. At this point, ship protocol requires escalation. The captain is notified. A search of the ship begins, initially discreet. Crew members check public areas, restrooms, lounges, and decks. Announcements are made, phrased in a way that avoids alarming passengers. There is no response. As minutes turn into hours, the reality becomes harder to avoid. 2 passengers are missing. The captain orders a more thorough search. Crew members fan out across restricted areas, storage rooms, engine spaces, and service corridors. The entire ship is checked methodically. Nothing. The captain makes the call to contact maritime authorities. The Coast Guard is notified that 2 passengers are unaccounted for, last seen sometime during the previous night. Exact time unknown. The ship provides its current position, speed, and heading. These details will later become critical. Within hours, the Coast Guard initiates a search and rescue operation, but already time is the enemy. When a person goes overboard without witnesses, the window for recovery is narrow. Drift patterns depend on wind, currents, body buoyancy, and countless other variables. In calm seas, a person can remain afloat for hours, sometimes longer. But detection is difficult, especially when there is no known point of entry into the water. The Coast Guard deploys aircraft and vessels along the ship's projected path. They calculate probable drift zones based on the last confirmed time the couple was seen alive. The problem is that there is no precise timestamp. The window stretches across several hours, possibly more. Search planes fly low over the water, scanning for any sign of movement, any shape that does not belong to the sea. Ships move through grid patterns, eyes trained on the surface. Nothing is found. As the search continues, questions begin to surface, both on board the ship and among investigators. Did they go overboard voluntarily or accidentally? Did something happen inside the cabin? Could they have disembarked earlier without being recorded? Could there have been foul play? At this stage, there are no answers, only possibilities. The ship continues on its route after being cleared to do so. Passengers are informed that 2 individuals are missing, phrased carefully to avoid speculation. The mood on board shifts. Conversations lower in volume. People begin to look over the railings differently, as if the ocean has changed overnight. For the crew, procedures continue. Cabins are cleaned, meals are served, the machinery keeps moving. But the absence lingers, felt more than seen. Back on land, families are notified. The news is devastating. The couple had left for a vacation, a cruise, something safe, something predictable. Now they are gone, without explanation, without witnesses, without bodies. Media attention follows quickly. Initial reports describe the couple as a married pair of doctors who vanished at sea. Headlines speculate carefully, using words like mysterious and unexplained. Investigators urge patience, emphasizing that disappearances at sea are complex and that searches are ongoing. The Coast Guard expands the operation, but as days pass, hope diminishes. No debris is found. No personal items surface. The ocean gives nothing back. Eventually, the search is suspended. Officially, the case remains open. Unofficially, it begins to drift into uncertainty. In the months that follow, investigators reconstruct what they can. Passenger logs, crew schedules, maintenance records. They interview anyone who might have seen the couple during the final hours. Witness statements are collected, compared, and sometimes contradicted. Some passengers recall seeing the couple late in the evening, walking along an outer deck. Others remember them earlier in the night, near the bar. No one can say for sure. There are no security cameras covering the outer railings at that time. No continuous monitoring of balconies. The technology simply does not exist yet. Investigators examine the cabin again after the ship returns to port. Forensic analysis reveals nothing conclusive. No signs of violence, no evidence of forced entry. The balcony door's locking mechanism is tested. It functions as designed. Attention turns to the couple themselves. They are described as stable, successful, and devoted to one another. There is no known history of marital conflict, no financial trouble, no indication that they plan to disappear. Friends and colleagues describe them as cautious, intelligent people who understood risk. As physicians, they are trained to recognize danger. They know the consequences of falls, trauma, hypothermia, which makes the absence of explanation even more troubling. Over time, theories begin to circulate. Some suggest an accident, a slip on a wet deck, a moment of disorientation. Alcohol is mentioned, though there is no evidence that either had been drinking excessively. Others suggest a medical emergency, a sudden illness leading to collapse near the railing. Then there are darker theories, whispered more than spoken, possibilities involving foul play. But without evidence, these remain speculation. Years pass. The case fades from headlines, but it does not disappear. Families continue to ask questions. Investigators revisit the file periodically. Advances in maritime modeling are considered, but without new data, there is little to change. The ocean remains silent. Then, 8 years later, something unexpected happens. Hundreds of miles away from where the couple vanished, in an area long considered irrelevant to the case, a routine Coast Guard operation encounters something unusual, something that does not belong where it is found. At first, it appears insignificant, just another object in the vastness of the sea. But as it is recovered and examined, it begins to connect to a story that many had stopped expecting answers from. And slowly, carefully, the past resurfaces. The object is spotted during what is supposed to be a routine operation. 8 years have passed since the disappearance. The case has long since slipped out of public consciousness, remembered only by family members. A handful of investigators and a thin case file stored among hundreds of others. The ocean has moved on as it always does. Shipping lanes have shifted. Technology has improved. New cases have replaced old ones. On this day, a Coast Guard cutter is operating far from the original search area. The mission has nothing to do with the missing doctors. It is a standard patrol, part of a broader effort to monitor maritime activity and conduct equipment checks. The weather is clear. Visibility is good. As the crew moves through the area, something appears on the surface of the water. At first glance, it looks like debris. The ocean is full of it. Driftwood, discarded equipment, fragments of cargo lost overboard. But this object has a shape that draws attention. It is not natural. It is too uniform, too deliberate. The cutter slows. A small team is dispatched to investigate. When they reach the object, they realize it is a life vest, not a modern one, but an older model. Sun-bleached, worn, still intact enough to identify its type and approximate age. The markings are faded but not completely gone. It is recovered and brought aboard. At this point, there is no reason to connect it to any specific case. Lost life vests are not uncommon. Ships discard them. Storms pull them loose. Time erases their origins. But protocol requires documentation. The vest is logged. Photographs are taken. Serial numbers, where visible, are recorded. The crew notes its condition and location. Then, almost as an afterthought, someone notices something familiar about the design. It matches the type used on cruise ships in the late 1980s. This alone is not enough to mean anything. Thousands of ships used similar equipment, but procedure dictates that recovered safety equipment be traced if possible. The vest is sent for further examination. Back on land, analysts compare the recovered vest to manufacturer records. The design is discontinued. The production window narrows. Certain features align with safety gear issued on specific vessels during a limited period. A list is generated. Among the ships that match the criteria is the one the doctor couple sailed on 8 years earlier. At first, the connection feels tentative, coincidental. But as investigators dig deeper, the match becomes harder to ignore. The serial markings, though partially degraded, fall within a range assigned to that ship. The material composition aligns. Even the wear patterns suggest long-term exposure, consistent with years at sea, not recent loss. The Coast Guard reopens the old case file. For the first time in nearly a decade, investigators begin actively re-examining the disappearance. The discovery of the life vest does not provide closure, but it changes the conversation. It suggests that at least one piece of safety equipment from the ship entered the ocean around the time of the disappearance, or at least during that era. More importantly, it raises a question that had never been fully explored. What if the couple did not go overboard near where the ship first suspected? Investigators return to the original navigation data: the ship's course, speed, heading, weather conditions, wind patterns, ocean currents at multiple depths. In the late 1980s, drift modeling was far less precise than it is now. Calculations were based on limited data and broad assumptions. The search area had been large, but not infinite. Now, with improved modeling techniques, analysts begin to simulate alternate scenarios. They input variables, the possibility of delayed entry into the water, variations in buoyancy, the effect of clothing, the presence of safety equipment. The models produce unsettling results. Depending on when and how the couple entered the ocean, debris could have traveled far beyond the original search zone, much farther. The area where the life vest was found falls within one of these newly identified drift corridors. This does not mean the couple survived for long. It does not mean they traveled together. It simply means that the ocean did not behave the way investigators once assumed. The discovery prompts renewed interviews. Former crew members are contacted again. Passengers who can be located are asked to revisit their memories. Time has eroded details, but some recollections remain. One passenger remembers hearing what they thought was a metallic sound late at night, somewhere near an outer deck. At the time, they dismissed it. Ships make noise. Metal expands and contracts. Equipment shifts. Another recalls seeing a life vest stored on a balcony railing earlier in the voyage, possibly removed from its bracket. They cannot remember which cabin. These memories are fragmentary, unreliable, but they add texture to a story that had been flat for years. Investigators also examine ship maintenance records more closely. They look for any reports of faulty railings, loose fixtures, or safety equipment issues. Nothing definitive emerges, but there are notes about routine wear and tear in several areas. Attention turns again to the couple's cabin. Investigators review photographs taken years earlier. The balcony, the railing height, the distance from the deck to the water below, the angle of the ship's motion at cruising speed. Accident scenarios are revisited. One possibility is that one person went overboard accidentally and the other followed in an attempt to help. This would explain the absence of witnesses and the presence of a life vest in the water. But there is no proof. Another scenario considers the possibility of a medical emergency, a sudden collapse near the railing, followed by an attempt to assist. Again, no evidence confirms this. The idea of deliberate action is examined and set aside repeatedly. There is no indication of planning, no farewell messages, no financial arrangements, no history that would suggest a desire to disappear. The absence of bodies complicates everything. In maritime cases, recovery is often the dividing line between speculation and certainty. Without remains, conclusions must be framed carefully. Investigators resist definitive statements. The Coast Guard releases a measured update. They confirm that a life vest consistent with equipment from the ship has been recovered. They state that the finding supports the conclusion that the couple entered the water during the voyage. They do not specify how or why. Families are notified privately before the information is made public. For them, the discovery is both relief and pain. After 8 years of uncertainty, there is finally something tangible, something that ties their loved ones to a specific outcome. But it is not the kind of closure that brings peace. There are no final moments to understand, no last words, no answers to the questions that matter most. Media coverage returns briefly. Articles revisit the disappearance, now framed around the delayed discovery. Commentators speculate about what it means. Some overstate its significance, others downplay it. Investigators remain cautious. They emphasize that the life vest does not explain the circumstances of the disappearance. It only confirms that something from the ship entered the ocean. The case is not reclassified as a crime. There is no evidence to support that conclusion. Instead, the official determination leans toward an accidental loss, overboard, circumstances unknown. As years pass, the case settles into a different kind of quiet. It is no longer an unsolved mystery in the traditional sense. There is a likely outcome now, even if the details remain unclear. The couple is presumed to have died at sea, but the questions do not disappear. Why was there no distress call? Why were no alarms triggered? Why did no one see anything? The answer lies partly in the nature of ships and partly in human behavior. Cruise ships are not as watched as people imagine, especially at night, especially on private balconies, especially in calm conditions that lower vigilance. Accidents do not announce themselves. The ocean, too, plays its role. It absorbs sound, it conceals evidence, it moves objects in ways that defy intuition. 8 years was not an impossibility. It was a reminder of scale. For investigators, the case becomes a reference point, a reminder of the limits of search and rescue, of how small errors in time estimation can lead to massive differences in outcome. For the families, it becomes part of their lives. A story without an ending, but with a shape. They remember the couple as they were before the cruise, professionals, partners, people who trusted the world enough to take a vacation. They did not vanish into nothingness. They vanished into the ocean, a place that does not explain itself. In the end, the ship completed its journey. Other cruises followed. New passengers boarded. Life vests were replaced. Procedures were updated. The sea remained. Somewhere far from shore, currents continue to move through the same waters. They carry fragments of the past, sometimes returning them years later, altered but recognizable. The case file is closed again, but it is never erased. Because every time a ship leaves port, every time someone stands at a railing and looks out at the water, the story lingers quietly in the background. A reminder that even in places designed for safety, uncertainty can still find a way in.